What's up, everybody? This podcast is brought to you by Atlas Technology Solutions. We provide professional IT support and training for your business. We do Mac, Windows, networks, servers, cybersecurity, compliance, cloud. We do it all. We offer proactive support and consulting to help your company with the ever-growing demands that technology brings. Contact us today on any of the usual platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, or at our website, atlascarolina.com, to get support today. Hey, everybody. Today on the podcast, I have my good friend Rick Stewart, Dr. Rick Stewart. He's been in my life for a couple of years. We've gone to church together for a while. He's led our small group for a little while. Super interesting guy. A couple of the things, and I'll kind of let him get into his origin story, but I remember, Rick, whenever we had you guys come out to the pancreatic cancer run here in Charlotte. And I knew that you and your wife, Melissa, were runners at Buffalo, but had no idea. So Rick, long story short, comes in. I don't know, there's a couple thousand people there, and Rick comes in second place behind somebody pushing a double stroller with two kids in it.
I think it was third or fourth.
And of course, his wife Melissa won the whole thing. So
For girls.
for women, that's right. So anyway, obviously, I've always found that to be an interesting part about you. But so just kind of tell us from the beginning, like where you came from, like how did you get into running? You're a physical therapy doctor now, so start super young. How did that happen? How did you get there?
I was always pretty athletic as a kid, and so my brother was a runner, so he got me into running. So then it just took off from there. I was fairly good, but eventually I got a knee injury when I was a junior in high school. That kind of really transformed my life. So I had avascular necrosis, which is a dead bone on the end of the femur, and I was like, "Oh man, what's God doing to me?" I'm like supposed to be going off to these big colleges and getting scholarships, and my junior year, when you apply to colleges, it kind of
was that dead bone caused because of a running injury, or
no, it was a fluke thing. Just the very tip of my bone just wasn't getting blood flow. It just started breaking down. Bone started chipping away. It was Christmas Eve, and I was going for like a 10 mile run, and I was I was like 7 miles in, or about 3 miles from my house, and I just started running. My bone just started breaking away, and
oh my gosh,
bone chips just locked in my knee, and I couldn't run. I had to limp home. It was in Buffalo in the winter, so Christmas Eve, so it was freezing. But yeah, I had to limp home 3 miles.
And you were a junior in high school then?
Yeah.
Wow. So that just naturally happened then, right? That you said that wasn't because of any injury. It's just a natural.
Yeah. It's just God cursing my knee.
Send him to the gas chamber.
So yeah, just happened, but really that injury determined my whole life. I determined where I would go to school. I didn't get scholarships out of state. My local school knew who I was, but when you're applying to college, you use your track time. I really didn't have any good track times because I missed track my junior year. So, but yeah, it told me where I would go to school. I went to physical therapy. Didn't really help. I needed surgery just to resupply the blood to the end of my knee. But I went to physical therapies for 6 months. Found out I wanted to be a physical therapist. So first day of college at the University of Buffalo, I met my wife.
The first day.
First day, I was like, she walked in with like 4 other freshman girls. I'm like, man, these are good-looking women. So it took her 8 years for me to wear her down where she wanted to date me. When I became Dr.
I didn't
Stewart.
realize it was 8 years. Oh, you had to be a doctor first. Okay.
Yeah, then she decided to like me. So.
And Melissa ran as well. Your wife, Melissa.
Yeah,
ran.
she was on the track. She was the captain of the team.
Oh, wow.
I think she got a scooter. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, what about physical therapy? Like, what was it in particular that, was it a doctor or the experience or helping people, or what was your kind of experience, and what drew you to that profession?
Well, I've always been interested in, sports, physical stuff. So I was probably under a false impression that you just worked with athletes all the time. Normally, it's like
right.
80-year-old women with back pain or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't specifically go out looking. Okay, I want to be in the medical field, but orthopedics, orthopedic surgeon, or physical therapy. Physical therapy seemed more personable, or less schooling. So
okay,
that helped. So then I became physical therapist. Yeah. So this injury really shaped my life. Even knees, I've always had a fascination with knees, and I developed a knee patent for a knee device for a continued passive motion machine.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that later. I want to dig into that machine, and we'll talk about that some more. But yeah, continue to tell us. So, what was your running life like after the injury and physical therapy? How'd you kind of get back up, get your chops back in?
Yeah, it took a while. I went to physical therapy after surgery. They basically drilled into my bone, and it caused tunnels of blood flow to start going to that spot. And I just have one tiny piece where I don't have real cartilage, so I could feel it when I go downstairs with it. But I think I couldn't put weight on for I think maybe 6 weeks. Can't remember now, but pretty much as soon as they said I was good to go, I went running and ran like a 5:30 mile the first time. I'm like, I got to get running. And I think my physical therapist was mad at me for that, but then they said, "Oh, well, you're good to go."
Right.
So.
Awesome. So, so that gets you into college. You ran at Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
And so, what were some experiences you had running at Buffalo?
Oh, there was too many. Well, I met my wife there, but she didn't. Like I said, she didn't like me until I Dr. Stewart. I should be a little more charitable towards her. She called me monochromatic man because when I was a teenager, apparently I didn't know how to dress. I would just wear like 4 different shades of brown. So she says that's why she didn't like me back then. But yeah, we had a bunch of guys. There's nothing closer than being on a team, having 4 or 5 guys, and just giving your all. Your success is tied to their success. So one interesting thing we used to do, we have our group of guys, and we played this game called Low Card, where everybody would get a card, and whoever gets dealt the lowest card would have to do a prearranged stupid thing, and he'd be pressured to do it because he'd be ostracized, or you couldn't look at it, you cast away. And there'd be a 90% chance you could laugh at somebody doing something stupid, only a 10% chance that do something stupid, so it was worth the odds. So probably my favorite one was when we were in the Buffalo airport. We saw Lynn Swann. He's a football commentator. He was a wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, like during Terry Bradshaw's time. But he was being interviewed by the Buffalo. It was on TV actually, and I had a book, and I said, "Okay, Low Card has to go up to Lynn Swann and say, 'Hey, Mr. Dickerson, like Eric Dickerson, running back, famous guy. Hey, Mr. Dickerson, could I have your autograph? So my friend Slick lost, and he goes up, and the news reporter, Lynn Swan, just started dying laughing, like, I'm not Eric Dickerson. Lynn Swan. He's like, I know. So now I have Lynn Swan's autograph.
Oh, you have the book.
I still have
How
the
did
book.
you get to keep the book?
Because my friend gave it to him. I think.
Oh, okay. It was
yeah.
your. I got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever pull low card?
Yeah. Probably the most heart-wrenching one was it was after 9/11, and we had this guy who's from Brooklyn. He's this Italian guy. And he always wore like a FDNY shirt. And we were like, hey Pete, why do you wear FDNY? What does FDNY stand for? Being stupid. And he would just go off, and said, if you guys ask me one more time what does FDNY stand for, I'm gonna so do low card, deal them out. I get the low card, and he goes off on me. You know, we had to have everybody break it up.
And all these guys are on your running team, right?
Yeah, cross country track
so
team.
Classic college
Shenanigans
goofs and fun, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of your times and records and races, because I know you've won a lot of races and stuff. So,
well, in college I was a steeplechaser, so that's like a 2-mile, 3,000 meters, and then you have like hurdles and then the water pit underneath. That's probably what I was best at. Takes a little athleticism, and usually the best runners run like the mile or the 5,000 meters, so it's a little less competitive. So I like that one. I ran like 9:16. I went to Penn Relays, but I was injured. I got last place at Penn Relays, but I ran 14:56 in a 5K. And, I had the school record for like one hot minute in the 3,000. I ran 8:35. That's about 9:10 for 2 miles. But I had my friend Slick who went to Lynn Swan and got his autograph. He ran like faster in a 5,000 meters, but he didn't run it in a 3,000. I somehow still had the 3,000 school record, but yeah, it was
awesome. You told me a story one time about you taking your shirt off or something. Give us the backstory on what was going on with that.
So we always ran with our shirts off, even in Buffalo when it's freezing. But you got to show off for the college girls, our scrawny bodies. But so I think you're referring to it is Linda Yalem. It was a 5K in honor of a woman who she was raped and murdered on bike path. It was a pretty big deal, Buffalo. So they took money from walking women to their cars, like as like safety precautions, and then it became like this big Title IX issue where there's like a woman in sports thing. And when I went to University of Buffalo, there was 12 teams in the Mid-American Conference that had track and cross country. And there was 13 schools that had women's track. By the time I left, there was only 6 men's teams, and they had 13 women's teams. So there was it was all about Title IX you need to have equal women athletes at the school as male athletes, or according to a population, same number of scholarships. So when you have a football team that has like 70, 80, 90 players, the only way to count that out is to cut the men's sports, the minor men's sports like track and field. So you'd have the same facility, same coaches, guys coaching shot put for the girls. You could coach shot put for guys. You're paying the same coach, but it was just purely a numbers game where we had to have less male athletes. So, long story short, I protested. I won this race, and I had painted on my chest like Title IX with a big X on it. That was my political activism.
Got it. Awesome.
Back in the day. But that was when I graduated. I'm pretty sure my coach and have been happy with that. But I was my fifth year. So I was in graduate school for therapy at that point. So she couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Fifth year. So you've sort of gotten into more. You've done, how many marathons have you done total?
I don't even know.
You're not even sure. But now you're doing a lot more like Ironmans and some of the rogue races and different things, right? So
I've gotten more into like Spartan racing, which is more like running through the woods and climbing over walls and stuff like that. I can't run as fast as I used to, so it's kind of depressing just doing a 5K and just, I used to run 3 minutes faster. But so now I do like Spartan races where it's not really about time, but you're just kind of having fun stuff. So
yeah. So at our last, I think it was the pancreatic cancer race again that you did win last year without the double stroller, because you and your wife take turns as to who's gonna who's gonna win, at least in our Charlotte local neck of the woods. But you were telling me, and I've always been fascinated about this with running. Like, I think for somebody like myself who's super slow, and I've done one half marathon, I see somebody like yourself, and I just think it seems easy. But when you're running like that and you win a race, like, you have a strategy, or do you just go out there and run as hard as you can, or what's going through your mind on a little race like that, a 5K or a 10K or something like that when you win?
Yeah, there's race tactics. I feel bad, like, I go to the starting line and I like size, okay, who's gonna be good, or who am I racing against? And really, it's silly. Like, I guess there was a pair of running shoes. I want a pair of running shoes, but it's not like I should be that competitive. But I'm 38 years old and still like want to like beat these teenagers or whatever. So like I'll see like I think I was in that race. I was in the first mile, and there was a guy, like a teenage kid, and I'm like, okay, he's probably faster than me because he's probably doing high school track. So I need to run faster earlier to break him. So I feel bad. I'm trying to break like some high school.
No, I think that's interesting. Well, and I mean, you told me the story before, and I thought it was interesting for the audience too to hear. But when you're running, there's more strategy. It's not just all out. There's wearing people down, psychological aspects of winning that race, and then also you're suffering too, right? You're hurting the whole time. You're not just breezing through.
Yeah. Running's the only sport where it's like complete pain is your limiting factor. Like, basketball where it's a lot of skill, which I don't really have, but pain, like running, it's training and suffering and
how long can you suffer, basically?
Yeah, I don't know why anybody wants to do it, but we do.
So as far as physical therapy and running goes, I mean, obviously that's got to play some sort of role. You understand the body, you understand running. From person to person, is everybody's running game sort of the same? Is it just a suffering game? Obviously, people have different body styles, and your typical runner is tall, lanky sort of runner. But how has that helped your running game being in the physical therapy profession?
Actually, the best runners in the world are usually like 5'6", like 120 pounds. So they're not really tall. But anyways, there's a lot lot to it. Generally, you'd want to just usually the more running you do, the faster you get. But eventually, it gets to a certain point where you need to do like speed workouts and almost train your neurovascular system, your neurological system to run faster. So I'll do. I could do a whole bunch of running, but then I'm like, okay, I need to really fine tune for a shorter race or something like that, and then I'll do some mile repeats, and it's like, oh, my legs aren't used to going this fast, and eventually they just kind of get used to it. So, yeah, and then there's different energy systems you wanna work. So just pure aerobic, just turning fat into oxygen and fat turning into calories, versus sometimes it's more VO2 max where you're burning a lot of glycogen fast. So there's energy systems using so there's some complicated stuff to that.
I can't remember the guy's name, but there was a guy who I believe he ran across the whole country. And
Forrest Gump?
No. Yeah, this guy's real. Forrest Gump's real too in people's hearts. But this guy, I think he had something where he doesn't create lactic acid or something as much, or maybe not. So he could just run. I can't remember if I read it in a book or heard the story, but he talked about how he would, I forget, his girlfriend broke up with him or something, and he just got sad and decided to run home in his like loafers. And he ran like 10 miles back to his apartment, had a few drinks or whatever. So, and realized like, yeah, that's not normal to be able to do that. Is that obviously that's.
Well, I think I've literally done the same exact thing. Had a girl break up with me, and then I went running 10 miles.
So you're the guy.
Yeah.
You're Forrest Gump.
Yeah. No, I haven't run across the country. No. Yeah, but the more you do endurance training, you get more mitochondria, more capillaries, so then you're able to go longer. So you're able to suck up more oxygen in the air and put it into your muscles a lot more efficiently. So yeah, the more you do that stuff, I'm sure there's some genetic component to it too.
Sure. So obviously I do technology, and this is again another conversation we've had kind of off to the side, but in regards to technology, you're pretty simple. You just throw on a pair of sneakers and go run, right? No heart monitors or Apple Watch or anything, right?
Well, the one thing I do, usually I try to run by feel, and like there's a thing called like lactate threshold where you want to like you're burning as many calories, running as many calories as you're breathing as you're replacing it. So finding that steady state, so maximizing how long you're at that steady state is a great way to get more capillaries and mitochondria and run faster. So that's generally by feel. I could be wrong, and sometimes you have to push yourself beyond that to maybe be more elite and try to run faster.
When you say feel, I mean, what does it feel like? How do you know? Is that just tons of practice, or what exactly is the feel?
So I wouldn't do this until you've been running a while, but if you're gonna race, if you're gonna do like a 10-mile race, the feeling of usually the limiting factor is, oh, my legs start burning, I'm breathing so heavy, I'm dying. So you want to get where you're kind of huffing and puffing, but then you're feeling your legs aren't getting more lactic acid burning feelings. You kind of get that steady state where you're working hard, but you're not going into what's called oxygen debt or lactic acid buildup. So
now you have an interesting method, at least you've been trying, rather than doing a regular 4 or 5 runs a week. You're to the point where you're doing one long run a week, right? Or you had kind of changed your philosophy on that?
Yeah, well, for my lifestyle with wife and kids, and if I'm going to run, I used to run like 70 miles a week. I don't have time for that anymore. So I would, maybe get, if I want, okay, I'm going to run 20 miles this week. I do 5 miles, 4 miles 5 times, 20 miles. That just takes a lot of time. Got to shower, stretch, all this stuff. So I've been dabbling with theory. I'm like, okay, what if I just run once a week, run 20 miles, and then to train for like an ultra race or Spartan or marathon. It's worked fairly well. I've like my legs would be pretty sore afterwards. But
And what's kind of the science? I mean, what was the math you were doing behind that thought?
So probably my limiting factor with my running now is like I've gained 30 pounds since I was in college. Married life has been good to me. But so the more you work, or the work is force times distance. So it doesn't matter how many times you run as long as you're doing 20 miles. So if you're running a little bit slower, a little bit faster, doesn't really matter. Still burn the same amount of calories, and so that's one of my objectives is to keep a little lighter. And
yeah, it's funny because I was just listening to a guy the other day on a podcast. He's sort of, I think they called him like the father of the kettlebell. Like Americans didn't really get into kettlebell workouts probably maybe the past 10 years or so. But previous to that, it was sort of a Russian thing, and a lot of CrossFit gyms even measure them in poods and in German weights, Russian weights. But this guy was talking about just when you look at the body and the way muscle development happens, it's better to not do these fast circuits that are sort of popular now, where you run around and do a circuit and you try to get the workout done in 45 minutes, you're out of the gym. But to really grow muscle, you need to kind of basically destroy that muscle and then give yourself a long break to get fully recovered. And then, so theoretically it made a lot of sense to me. It's not popular. I think maybe you don't feel like you're getting the workout, but also time is a huge factor, because he was explaining to really do that muscle development, it's going to take a couple of hours to do a workout, because you hit a muscle really hard and then you take like a 20 or 30 minute break and do something else and then hit another muscle. So I thought that was interesting. It's probably not very popular, but I wonder what the what science says about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't advocate my running training plan. Like I'm a physical therapist. Like your legs get a workout running 20 miles, and your muscles break down, then rebuild stronger and all that stuff. So that's good. But just, yeah, you could definitely get some injury issues, if you just.
So I shouldn't go run 20 miles tomorrow.
No,
cold turkey.
Not with.
I think I did 4 this morning, maybe not even quite 4.
Not with your flat feet. And
yeah, send me to the gas chambers too.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's kind of next for you? I want to talk about your patent. So you're a creative guy, and you're an inventor of sorts with this particular thing. So tell us, where did that come from? What is it, and what's the plan for that?
Well, I stare at knee replacements. Probably about 20%, 25% of my. Actually, it used to be a little bit more, but. I used to stare at knee replacements all the time, and I used to do manual therapy techniques with my hands that would, my patients were like, oh, that feels so good, and, keep doing that or this or that. And so right now the current technology is there's this machine that kind of bends your knee back and forth. So it goes straight, then bends up. And it showed, like, the research says that it's sort of good, like it works, but then usually by like 3 or 6 months, people catch up and their knees bend just as well, whether they had this knee machine or not. And there's research that sometimes scar tissue develops I think 7% of knee replacements who don't get the machine need to be knocked out and have their knee manipulated. So knocked out and scar tissue break open. And people who do get this knee machine, it's only like 2%. So, but so most knee replacements do really well no matter what. The prosthesis and the surgeons are so good that 80% of people do really well. There's 20% of people who just develop a lot more scar tissue and they have a really, really tough time. So I've been doing the manual therapy techniques, and I tried to then basically I added a machine to do the same manual therapy techniques as that, and add that to the knee machine. So basically, one of the faults of the CPM machine, the current technology, is that the machine will go down, but if your knee doesn't want to go straight, it's just going to stay up at 10 degrees, and that machine's going to go down to 0, but your leg is going to stay. There's nothing really pushing it down. There's straps you could use, but they don't work really well. So what my machine will do, it'll take the knee down to go pretty much just about straight, or as straight as it can go. And then there's a pneumatic cylinder, air cylinder, which will kind of strap around the ankle and just give a little tug at the ankle, and it'll cause a distraction. It'll cause a little separation between the shin bone and the femur bone. It'll stretch the capsule, the little sac in the back of it, and which is where usually people get stiff. That'll help the knee get straighter. That's where we'll say that feels really good. So, and then on the other side, when we're working on getting the knee bending, the knee doesn't work on a simple hinge joint. It's a curve, and then the femur is a curved joint, and then the shin bone, the tibias, kind of curved the other way. So it kind of slides around this curved surface. What I added was a translation. It's a tangential translation. So whatever knee the angle is bent at, there's going to be a tangential translation to aid the knee in gliding. So there's an anterior posterior glide, again using a pneumatic cylinder. So, and then there's also the distraction feature. You could do that with the knee bent. Again, it's going to cause the knee to stay loose. So the collateral ligaments on the side could get tight, scarred up with just the trauma of surgery. Those collateral ligaments get taut. Most people, if they get stuck and need that manipulation, that's 7% of people that need that manipulation, they get stuck around 90 degrees where those ligaments are most taut. So if before we could get that far, we could maintain that length of those ligaments by doing this distraction. It would hopefully prevent patients from really developing that scar tissue.
Awesome. And so the plan is, I know we've kind of talked about making yourself more aware on online with LinkedIn, with other doctors and stuff. But if you were to try to pitch it to somebody, obviously if someone was listening and knew more about what you're talking about as far as physical therapy, it may sound interesting. So it sounds like, okay, you could take that 80% of success rate and turn it into probably 90, 95, 100% success.
That's the plan
with that device. So, and so what's your plan? You want to sell it to somebody? You want to try to, because you have a prototype made now, but what's your sort of plan or hope for the future of that device?
Yeah, definitely. I have the prototype. Worked with an engineering company. I talked to a couple orthopedic surgeons. They're on board. One of the guys we go to church with, or but yeah, we worked with the engineering. Right now, it needs a little work with the electrical setup, and I would like a little bit more control on. Because right now it's based on air pressure. There's like a little air compressor that kind of feeds it this air to do that force, that pull. And right now I have it set at where about 100 Newton, whatever whatever those are, which is the research shows that that's what it is to kind of maintain the ligament length. So it takes like 1,000 Newtons to tear a ligament or more. So it's about 1/10 of it's safe and everything. But I would like the controls to be a little bit more smooth. And I need a little box because it's kind of loud. So it's a little box, just a sound box to make that better. Yeah, just some fine tuning to make it ready for market.
Well, and I think it's impressive that you've done all that yourself. I mean, with you get it into the right hands, the right engineering corporation, right medicine company or whatever, who could kind of take it to the next level and really make it
it's definitely
helpful to all those people.
It's definitely been a learning experience. Like, I'm just a physical therapist and with an idea, but then talking to doctors and engineers and lawyers, patent lawyers, and just a lot. Yeah, I'm trying to get some help. Trying to bring it to market. I just got to find the right partner. There's about 5 or 6 companies that I've been looking at. Try to get in contact with.
Awesome. So obviously, if anybody's listening, and this sounds like the thing for you, reach out, let us know, and I'll get you in contact with Rick. So, well, thanks again for joining us, man. It's been a pleasure. I've been wanting to have you on for a while, and I find you to be an interesting person and an awesome person to have in my life. So thanks a lot, and
thanks to you, Chad.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So obviously, thanks for joining us with Overcoming Average, sponsored by Atlas Technology Solutions. If you guys have any needs for technology, let us know. And otherwise, have a great day.